Let me show you how to use Logger Pro to get data for the Angular Momentum Lab. Okay, you're going to run Logger Pro. Now, you already have to have taken the movie and you have to have mailed it to yourself. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go up here to Insert, and you're going to insert a movie. Okay, and then mine is going to be in the download folder because that's where I told it to put it. And then the problem is, where the heck is it? It's one of these ones. Hopefully it'll be easier for you to figure out. And I think this middle one is actually pretty good here. So that looks good, right? There I am twirling. I'm a twirler. And it kind of makes it big for you, but that's all right. I think this works. I think what I'll do is I'll grab this thing and move it over this side. Okay. And then the first thing you want to do, maybe I want to resize that a little bit. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Okay. First thing you want to do is pop out. There's some controls on this side here. So pop those out. Okay. Now what we're going to do, once we do that, notice this left-hand column there. We've got basically all we're going to use is the time on that. So scroll that over. We want to see the time on that side. And then take a look here. The first thing you do, and I forgot to do this, but you need to have a meter stick that's right about where the center is for that. Okay. I'm just going to use I don't know, the height of my head or something like that, right? But you're going to use a meter stick, and you click this thing. That's set the scale. And you're going to click on that meter stick, and you're going to drag from the top to the bottom. And it'll say, how long is that? And you just say it's 1 meter. I really don't know. Is that really a meter? It doesn't, by the way, it doesn't really matter, but that's okay. Okay. And then let's play the movie. Let's see if the movie plays. So there I am.
Yep.
I'm twirling. I pull it in. Notice I pull it in right about here on the movie, right? Okay, so if we back up from there, there we go. You can see that's when I start to pull it in, right? So when you're making your video, you want it to go around once. Oh, look at that, it keeps going. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so I think this is the last actual rotation. Now notice when it's on the side how it's moving away from you, so it isn't blurred. That's when you want to actually measure this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure how far out it is. Okay, so see this, we set the scale with this. This one is actually measure something. So you want to measure where that thing is to the very center of rotation. It helps if you're holding a meter stick there. Notice it tells you the distance. So write that down, 1.677. That's our radius. So there it is, right? And you can move that around if you want. There it is, right? Okay. Now we want to measure how far out it is when I pull it in, right? So I'm just clicking this right thing there. I'm going to go with that one. Let's see. Ooh, that's about as good as it's going to get. There. Okay, now let's measure this distance. So it's like about there, right? And that's my other radius, right? Is 1.063. Okay, now let's get some times. Let's go back in time. Yeah, look at that go. Okay, it's a little bit of a lag there. Okay, so get it back to that just before you pulled it in, right? Okay, here's that frame there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this tool here. I'm just going to click. It doesn't matter, by the way, where I click, but I'm going to click on the stopper just for kicks. Okay, and now let's go back in time from just before when I pulled it down, until it gets back one complete rotation. You could do a half rotation if you want. Oops. There it is. That's about as good as it gets, right? Okay, so there's some uncertainty. And now I'm going to click again on that. Okay, now look up here in the left-hand corner there. Do you see those 2 times? This is the first time I click. That's the second time I click, but it always puts them in ascending time order. Okay, but notice 3.637 is the last click, and 2.635 is the first click. if you subtract those, so write down, you now have written down the 2 times, and then before, write down, you've written down the 2 distances, right? Write down those 2 times. Write down the 2.635 and the 3.637. The difference between those 2 times is the period. If you subtract those 2 numbers, you'll have the period, and the velocity is just 2 pi r over t. Okay? Again, these 2 velocities here, or 2 times here, if you subtract those, you'll have the period, and then 2 pi r over t will be the velocity. Okay, so now let's go forward in time. To the first rotation after I pull it in. Now watch my left hand. See how my hand's going down, right? You want to pull it down fairly quickly, right? I feel like that's it right there, okay? And you really don't want to wait long because this thing's losing energy as it goes, right? So now I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go forward in time and get it back to that spot. There it is again. Boom. Now, see these 2 numbers, the 4.972 and the 4.403? So these 2 numbers, notice that those 2, there's not as much time in between them, right? 4.403 and 4.492. The difference between those times gives you the period for after it's pulled in, right? So here's our new distance. Our period for this distance is this minus this. The period for that distance is this minus this. Okay, so now we have 2 periods, 2 radiuses. We ought to be able to figure out a velocity. So I'll show you how to do that with the next video, okay?